Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're here today. We're very lucky to have two very experienced kitchen designers joining us today, Zoli, Meyer and Byron O'Connor. And they're here to just explain to us the roles of the kitchen designer, what is expected if you're wanting to make kitchen design your profession. And they're going to share with us some of their experience and knowledge. Byron, first of all, you are here joining us from Totem Kitchens in Gauteng.
Hi.
And thank you for your time.
You.
Byron, can you just outline for us the key roles and responsibilities that face the modern kitchen design and how those differ from maybe what a kitchen designer did sort of 20 years ago?
Certainly. So the functionality and aesthetics are always changing, more so the aesthetics in terms of trends. We see a lot of European influences coming in. But roles and responsibilities, we would look at making sure that the functionality of the kitchen is always towards a client's cooking methods, their cooking cuisines, and then applying the aesthetics, so-called the second phase of the design aspect, to understand the styles and preferences of your client, so that you can kind of get a full picture of what they are drawn to in terms of what they're envisioning. The responsibility to understand your company's capabilities. So are they able to do certain builds, certain products that your client is looking for, and really understanding what your company's limitations are. As a designer, you'd like to be able to handle the process from start to finish, from the design aspect, from the consulting, all the way to the last step, which would be the management of the process, and achieving the end product as a whole. So ensuring that you are guiding your client through the process with ease, and that they are trusting you in a sense to deliver from start to finish, and just knowing your products, knowing what you're able to offer, and you will be not just part of the design process, you're part of the whole process as a whole. So that would be from the sales to the consulting and project management as well, and being involved on site, being really part of not just the behind the scenes, but the process to achieve the end product.
Yeah, and I agree with you there, talking about the whole project side. That's a big change from how it was many years ago, when a kitchen designer would purely just design, and then there would be a sales team left to manage and deal with the customer. Nowadays,
Sure.
You have to be able to do it all. So you can't just sit as a student and say, I'm a great designer, but I've got no interpersonal skills. You need to work on those too, and be able to understand how to manage people as well. So yeah, that's an important one.
And being involved in the process of going through to the site or the client's home, and actually spending time there, that's where you learn the most. You learn that, okay, I did this design in that certain corner, for example, and it doesn't work. Kind of going through the school fees of understanding the practical and the functionality of that certain design that you've done. No design is always going to be 100% perfect. And actually involving yourself during the installation and seeing the process. That's where you learn, and school fees is vital.
Yeah, it's important, and you can't just sit in the office and let the installers go to site. You actually have to be part of that and understand how the kitchen's made.
They have a lot to offer as well in terms of knowledge.
Yeah. Zoli, maybe you can give us an understanding of when you, as a kitchen designer, first meet your customer, how do you even start the process, start unpacking what they want and what they need, and understanding and creating a brief from that?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to ask questions. And then when you ask those questions, to really listen to what your customer says. I think we as designers, a customer will say something and then our mind drifts and we start seeing the picture, or they say something that you think, oh, that will never work, and your mind goes there and you stop listening to what they're saying and you miss a few key things that they've actually shared with you. So I think the most important thing is when you meet with these customers that you ask the questions and then you actually listen to what they say. And then after they've spoken, then to remind them of little things that they've missed. I think you as the professional, you need to know what they've missed and then ask those questions, small things like, are you going to, do you prefer a freestanding oven? So small things like that, even in design, to ask things that they don't think about in that moment. And then you always need to assess when you meet up with them with how much research the client has already done. Some customers come and they've done so much knowledge. You get told what color to use, how to use it, and where to use it. And then, it's sometimes nice, but then also just give your feel to it. And then a lot of times you've got customers that doesn't really know what they want. So they think they do, but they talk in circles. And I think it's always good to ask these questions to clarify what they really need. So I think a good example for me is I once had a customer and they just kept on speaking about having this modern kitchen and modern and contemporary, and they used all the right terminology. And you go out and you design this beautiful modern kitchen, and then it comes out, you send it to them and they're like, oh no, they want shaker doors and they want, things like the picture on the bottom right. So even though it's got certain elements that's modern, it's not a full-on modern kitchen. So I think with that, it does help to talk to them, but also to ask them to show you pictures. We all know how they love Pinterest. It's not the best for us, but just to get an idea of what they like. So to spend time in your showroom, to spend time with your portfolio, and for them to show and to see what they really like. And then to ask the right questions. I think that's the main point that I want to get to. And then it will be a process, like Byron said. Sometimes you've got this great idea, and when you get to the space, it doesn't work. And then to just carry on communicating. I think for me, the most important thing that makes a designer good is to have that relationship with a customer. And that gets to my last point on this slide is budget. When you said we need to speak about budget, oh, I hate that question. I never ask that question, what is your budget? I think in nowadays, people, they don't trust as well as they did in the past. So maybe if you say, what is your budget? They feel if they say my budget's 400,000, you're going to give them something of 200,000 for 400,000 to make money off of them. So I think firstly, people don't trust the way they always trusted. And then secondly, I think people don't always realize what quality costs. So I think that makes it a bit difficult to just go out and throw that question as what is your budget. I think it's better to ask different questions like things about exclusivity, luxury, nice to haves. When you ask those kind of questions, you can get an idea of where this customer is at. And then from there, you take it and you can always go up or down from there as well.
Thanks, Zoli. And I mean, I'm sure you've both been in this situation where you get a customer who's just adamant that they want X, but you as a designer know that X is the worst thing that they could possibly do, either because it contravenes legally what they are allowed to do, like putting a box in front of putting a cover on front of the top of their DB box, or choosing a color scheme or pattern that won't have longevity and will date the kitchen. How forceful do you think you should be to actually put that across, because you guys are the design experts? So, and then when it does come to bite the customer in the back, they come back and say, well, you should have told me, you're the expert.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I think we're all different. I don't know Byron that well. We've got designers that work for us that do things different to how I do it, but I can answer in the way I do it. I love to inform customers, but then still leave it as their decision at the end of the day. So make sure that if it's something really important, that's something that legally, like you say, the DB board, something like that, I'll just put on an email to make sure that I was covered. But if it's something that really is just it's not going to look nice, or I would inform them, I would explain to them, I would maybe meet up with them or show them why I don't feel that way. But at the end of the day, it's them living in their house. So if they're really adamant to have that silly design element, they're going to live there and they're going to enjoy it. So as long as I feel that if you communicate well, then it's up to them what they make of it. And then with the more serious things, to just cover yourself on an email or somewhere.
Byron, do you obviously similar process then for you guys?
Yeah, I believe, you know, the process of briefing with the clients, you kind of get a feel of where they're at, especially if you have kitchens on view in your showroom, and naturally what they're drawn to, they walk to that certain kitchen. You know, with budgets, you can always throw out a figure, you know, and just be like, okay, so what, you know, are we looking at R1 million? And you know, you know, just as a joke, and you know, their reaction would also, you know, kind of give you, okay, well, you know, it's not where we're at. But in terms of percentages as well, I think that you could look at anything from, you know, between 8 to 10% on house value. What that's kind of like a ballpark figure of what you would spend on cabinetry as a whole. And that would be including, you know, bedroom cupboards, vanities, and kitchens. And that will kind of give you a budget allocation as well towards, you know, not also advising your client not to overspend. And you know, it's not always about having the highest budgets. It's about consulting your clients in the best way possible, so that you're able to ensure that they don't overspend. And that's also would be, you know, to give you an indication of that. Yeah.
Agree. And so then when you're looking to then take your clients and start the design work, obviously optimizing space and flow is vital. I don't think clients necessarily realize how much traffic happens in a kitchen. How do you take that little bubble of inspiration that's sitting in the client's brain and that's been passed to you and turn it into something with space and flow?
I think that's the exciting thing for us as the professionals, to know that sort of, you know, the of making a kitchen nice to use as well. So I know we're speaking to interior design students, and I know they learn a lot about the design triangle. And yes, to a certain extent, we do use the triangle, but we sometimes, or we mostly, refer more to dynamic space. It's a term from Bloom. So Bloom is a company that does hardware in South Africa as well, and they do training on dynamic space, so we use that a lot. And they focus a lot on workflow, space and motion. So workflow, to make sure that by your prepping zone, you've got a prep bowl to rinse, you've got a bin right there. So just to think a little bit further than just the triangle, to use your consumables, to have a certain space for your consumables, your non-consumables, your cleaning zones, your prep zones, and your cooking. And so you're taking the triangle just on steroids, I suppose, and just take it a little bit further than just thinking about 3 areas, but you're expanding those 3 areas into more. So if you take, for instance, your cleaning zone, to make sure that you can empty a dish in a bin, rinse it, and then pack it in a dishwasher, to make sure that flow really works well, to not now have to step over your dishwasher to empty your bin, then step over your dishwasher again to rinse it. So just think about that flow. Then yeah, as well, I think the internet is full of pictures of European kitchens, which are absolutely beautiful. But as a South African markets, we've got massive kitchens, we've got huge properties. So a customer will come and show you a picture of a beautiful kitchen, but the space that the architect gave them, it will never work. So just to take what they like and to then make that flow and space a lot more adaptable for our South African market. Yeah, with space, to make sure that your main space where you pack is in the middle area, everything at the top or the bottom is stuff that you don't use daily. And then I've got the picture at the bottom here of a kitchen we've just done in South Downs, to just show you how big South African kitchens are. So you've got your big kitchen, but we have pantries, laundries, that's in a separate room. Some clients have cold rooms, so your space is a lot more. But then just to optimize the space, so let's say you've got a pantry pantry where you pack all your everyday, your monthly groceries, then you've just got an extra consumables cabinet within your triangle or within your dynamic space for everyday items. And then the same with motion, to make sure that we use good runners, good hardware that the kitchen is nice to work with. So I think there's a lot more to it, and I think that's the exciting part with kitchens. You can expand, and there's so much more that you can do in this area.
Thanks. Byron, I was just thinking about, you were saying something earlier about the ethics of being a kitchen designer, and measuring and having accurate measurements is vital to getting correct space and flow in the kitchen. How important is it for a designer to remain ethical, do their own measurements, unless they're coming from another industry professional, rather than just take what comes from another company or from the consumer themselves?
Well, yeah, the responsibility lies with you. Your butt is on the line, if you can say, if you don't get the dimensions right in the sense. And it comes down to, a bit of pride as well, for the passion for what you do. You want to be able to sleep at night, and if you're working on a large scale installation and the product is, the client is investing in a lot of financial with you, you want to be able to trust yourself. And yeah, you can get very busy and slip a dimension in there from architectural drawings or from CAD, but yes, allowing yourself the time to, allowing yourself to make time to really spend the time in the space that you're in on site, and double check your measurements. There's a very old saying, measure twice, cut once, and if you need to measure a third time, do so again. So yeah, the ethics of making sure that your measurements is correct is vital, especially when you're optimizing and sending work into the factory for production. You want to make sure all your boxes are ticked, so that you can sleep at night and you trust the work that you've done.
Totally agree, thanks. And Zoli, when we're looking, we spoke about you don't like to ask the word budget, but when a client is coming to you, they obviously do have an idea of their budget. What are the key elements that affect what they can do with that budget?
I think the nice thing, we've got so many options. So you can do a beautiful, beautiful kitchen with more affordable material, hardware, that sort of thing. So you, like you say, it's about building that relationship, analyzing clients. I think a lot of times we tend to just take on what we see the first time when we see a client, but I think you can get it so wrong sometimes. I don't know if you've experienced that, Byron, but you can analyze a client and think they don't have the budget, but then they actually do. So it's very important to just not analyze a client on what you see the first time when you meet them. Obviously, when you're working from a plan and an architect, you can get a better idea, like Byron shared earlier, about knowing if you know what the total house cost is. I agree with that 8 to 10%, but a lot of times when you're just redoing a kitchen or meeting someone, you don't always know. But I find that it's good to communicate, to find out sort of a place where you can start, and then you can always go up or down from there. Things that affect the cost, there's a lot of places where you can change and where you can adjust to get the cost down or up. So things like material finishes, so material using a melamine towards a duca, for instance, finishes using a matte finish to a normal satin finish, that also adds to price. Hardware using soft close hinges and runners to your normal hinges and runners. Inserts, you can do amazing inserts for clients, but they do cost quite a lot. So you can always say, let's leave certain inserts and we can always add them later, or you can go to more affordable inserts. Layout definitely adds to pricing. So you can, let's say, for instance, if it wasn't, you can make cabinets lower, so that they don't go to the ceiling, and that can add, that can take away from the cost if that was something. Most of the time you do it for a design element, but you can do that to bring costs down. Stone layout and wastage, I think that's something we as designers should keep in our minds. If you've got an island that's just over the slab size, that's going to add a half a slab to your pricing, where if you, and you also don't necessarily want that join. But, you know, to think about things like that, where you can make the island slightly smaller, they can still have their island, but the wastage on the stone brings the cost down. I've got a nice example at the bottom right of the screen of a house we did last year, where we've used Duco matte cabinetry, we've cladded the island with Neolith stone, and we've got a build up here by the seating area, we've got smoked glass on the back wall. I really believe that you can take this, so in the house and the budget that the client had, it absolutely worked, but you can take this same kitchen and do it more cost effective by using a melamine instead of a matte Duco for the cabinetry. Instead of cladding the whole island, you can just do a top, maybe use the grey melamine on the island to pick it up from the back. Instead of using the smoked glass by the wall unit, you can take that to a melamine. Instead of doing a build up on your island, where your seating areas, you can just use normal stone. Moving towards doors instead of drawers, that saves a lot of cost as well. So you could get the same look of this beautiful kitchen by just doing a few tweaks, and it can bring a budget down a lot for a customer that couldn't afford the same finishes. So I do think there's a lot of place to play, but it's all about knowing your product and and see where a customer is willing to cut. I think that's the other thing, where they are willing to change to bring pricing down.
Thanks, Zoli. So Byron, maybe you can explain, so now that you've got, or you've ascertained how much the client's got to spend, how do you allocate that budget? How do you spread it out? Where does it go?
So, like Zoli was saying, you know, understanding the budget and where you can compromise on certain materials and understanding the product is very key. It's vital. So your understanding and knowledge of what is available in the market, allocating costing for the budget, you could look at anything between 30% on a worktop of total budget. So allocate 30% to that for worktops, 40 to 50% on cabinetry, including hardware. Generally 10% on installation with 10% on accessories, and that would kind of give you ballpark figures, ballpark estimates on percentages allocated to the budget. But you know, these aren't always fixed. You know, depending on what the client is drawn to. Is it the worktop? If it's not so much the worktop, is it the cabinetry color? And you know, again, knowing what type of products are available, different suppliers, international, local, you know, these will be able to give you an indication of how much would you like to spend on certain items in the kitchen, accessories, worktops, etc. And obviously understanding what the limitations each product hold, and you know, just understanding again, just understanding where would your client like to invest a lot of money, or invest the money into what part of the kitchen more, so being worktops, cabinetry. I mean, you could really have a very clean, minimalistic kitchen with all the hidden accessories, pocket doors, etc. You know, and these accessories then would also then increase in percentage of actual budget cost.
Mm. It's something we talk about in some of the articles on the KSA website, where we say that encourage your client to put a list of non-compromise items. So when they're thinking about their new kitchen, what are the things that they are envisaging that they're not prepared to compromise in it? If it's they've always wanted a marble look tops, or they've always wanted a double door fridge, or they've always wanted a pull-out pantry. If they can give you those non-compromise items, you know immediately that you have to allocate a certain amount of money to those, and then it helps you know what you've got left to play with. Right, and then if we're looking at the client starting to choose their finishes, Zoli, what should the designer be thinking of when it comes to color, texture, and pattern to ensure that the client tastes are still met, but that you're still ensuring them a longevity with the kitchen, that it doesn't date too quickly?
Yeah, I think that's very important. I think it comes with experience. I think it comes with to really know what works, and what works. Something that works in a bedroom won't necessarily work in a kitchen, because you've got oils and things that you need to think about, splatter, and so you do need to think about the space that you're working with. And then so I think the main thing when we look at color is to, and I mean, we're speaking to interior decorating students, I know they learn these things, but in a kitchen, to remember when you've got a smaller space, a really cramped space, to not go too dark with the colors. So that the color should accommodate the space that you're working with. Texture, I feel texture really with kitchens, it comes in a lot with the style of the kitchen that you're doing. So if you're doing a modern kitchen, you're going to use sleek, smooth finishes. When you do something modern, when you do something a bit more rustic, you can bring in more the textures in there. Rough textures for a rustic design. So I think texture really depends on the style of the kitchen that you're doing. And then pattern, I think pattern you really need to choose well. You shouldn't overwhelm a space, and I think it's the same principle as what you use when you design a bedroom or a living room. Is not to overdo pattern. Don't now, if marble is in, put in marble tops with marble tiles and marble backsplashes, and don't overdo it. I think a common thing that people sometimes, they try and be too creative, and then they try and reinvent the wheel and make all every here and there draw a different color. You're just trying too hard. So I think you really need to remember with pattern that they all should work together. And then if you take color, texture, and pattern, you can mix the three, and you can use so many different ones. But if you use it in a subtle way, it can create something so beautiful. And I think when designing kitchens, you need to remember the same principle as when you're designing a living room. Where you pop or where you add, like for instance, in a living room, you're going to pop with a scatter cushion that in a year's time you can change the scatter cushion. Do the same thing in your kitchen. Keep try and use things that don't date as quickly, especially if clients pay a lot of money. Try and work that way. I've got another example here at the bottom of many different elements that we use together. So it can, we've used color, texture, and pattern, many different ones, but it's still a basic, beautiful kitchen. So it's a matte black finish on the cabinetry with a solid wood with a natural finish over it. We've got in the front, we've got a big block of granite that's unfinished, so it adds that texture and that feeling to the design. And then unfortunately in this picture, I don't have the glass doors that close over the back wall. So that's another smooth finish added to the whole design. And but it's so many different textures and color and pattern together, but it's still a basic, beautiful, timeless kitchen, I believe. So it's just using them together well. That's the trick.
And this picture, just when you first showed it to me, makes me think what you were saying about, if a client does have a different idea about a feature they want in the kitchen, sometimes you've got to let them run with it. And that picture just shows it. Not many people would think of putting a huge big block of unfinished granite in their kitchen, but it works for them. It makes a statement, and it's been toned in well with the rest of the design.
Yes.
So Byron, maybe you can share for us, if someone is keen to join the kitchen industry and make kitchen design their speciality, what opportunities exist for them coming into the industry as newbies, so as to speak?
Well, so you're in the residential development, in the world of residential development, and you're meeting with people that have been, from tradesmen, interior designers and architects. So you're really involved in the world of residential. So you're exposed to these different trades, if I can call it, these different specialities in having the just being exposed to the different elements of the house, and that gives you the opportunity to network, really give yourself an opportunity to expose yourself in the working environment, in the working industry. So this gives you the opportunity to design, to consult with different tradesmen, learning from them and improving yourself in a sense where you're expanding your knowledge in the different elements of a home. It's like we say here that no day is the same. You're designing, you're client consulting, and you're becoming a sales consultant. So you're kind of becoming this independent, well-rounded person that is able to offer the full package in terms of not just sitting back and designing. So the opportunities are limitless, and what you're setting yourself for, I think you are very, you'll be able to open yourself into many sectors of the residential market. So yeah, I mean, it really is a great opportunity for young students coming through the industry to understand and learn the process. And once you're involved in the circle, if you could call it that, really understand where do you favorite, what draws yourself to which certain part of the home. Do you see yourself being more of a designer? Do you see yourself kind of being more, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes? And what part of the residential sector are you interested in? But yeah, so the opportunities are endless, and by exposing yourself to the trades and exposing yourself to different networks, kind of gives you an understanding of what the possibilities are.
And Byron, what sort of earning potential do you feel that the students would have?
Do I need to give a figure?
Well, no, just giving an idea, how are most salaries structured in the industry? Are kitchen designers paid well in comparison to other designers? Is there opportunities for commission?
Yes, so again, dependent on employer. But I'd say that the standard would be a basic, and then commission based on whatever you bank for your employer. And dependent on where you're based and depending on which what area your clients in, the clients do spend quite a bit of money on cabinetry. If you look at the likes of Stain City, your Waterfall Estates, etc., these are the modern architectural homes of South Africa, in Johannesburg, shall I say. So the earning potential based commission on that is pretty good, and it really puts you on your feet as a student as well, should you get into that target market of design.
Yeah, I have to say, with good designers being highly praised and valued and sought after in the industry, I know that when the kitchen companies, when any of our members get someone good, they are prepared to pay them well to make sure that they stay and don't get poached by anyone. Right,
Sorry,
so
my line's a bit bad. It is breaking up a bit.
Before we finish up, Karen, I'm sure you've got some questions for Byron and Zoli.
I do, thanks so much. So I think maybe I'll direct the first one to Byron. We were talking about responsibility and communication to the client, and ensuring how well the installation and the whole process goes. For that, and I want to say it's extra work. It's not. It's your job. You should be doing it. But what kind of rewards do you feel the designer gets from being able to meet those criteria and really make sure that their whole installation goes well by putting in that extra effort that they need to?
Thank you for the question. It's you're involving yourself because firstly, being in the industry, it's obviously because of the passion. So if you enjoy doing it, it's not seen as extra work. Naturally you see it as part of the process. So involving yourself in every step from start to finish, you kind of see the journey, of is it a renovation or a new build. So going through that process and seeing the reactions of your clients, for me, is priceless, and that is really something that keeps me going. So it's about understanding, that it's the process that leads up to the finished product. So yes, involving yourself is crucial, and not only is it, you also learn a lot. You learn a lot more out on site or in the home than you do in the office, and that is the key to any successful designer, is making those mistakes and understanding that you've made those mistakes, and how do I better my approach to the next design. The school fees is a continuous thing. The road to improvements is always under construction.
Would you feel with having said all of that, that perhaps the whole experience that the client has with you is more of a business calling card than your little printed business card? I mean, would you feel that you'll probably get more referrals from that than just relying on leads that came from a showroom or a business?
Yeah, I mean, the work is out there, and involving or being out there, building the relationships with the client is part of the process of generating leads. Again, your product is on show in someone's home, and really ensuring that process was smooth, the relationship was built, and you would become the go-to. Conversation between friends and family is probably the best referral when they speak of your brand.
Perfect. Thanks so much.
Thank
Zoli,
you.
I want to direct the next question at you. So in terms of kitchen designers, I know interior design students or interior designers and architects have a CPD program. So sorry for the students that don't understand it, it's a continued personal development, and you have to earn points in order to keep your license valid. How important do you feel for kitchen designers it is to keep abreast of not only trends, but also new products coming through and training on these products?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important. And I think that's what's so nice being part of the Kitchen Specialists Association, is that we've got, we don't have that point system, but we do have a form of training. So if new products come out, you as a company have the opportunity to join in and learn about these products or learn about trends, but it's your responsibility as a company and as a designer to actually make the time to go out and learn more. You can do your own studies as well, on the internet, but I think it's very important to stay on top of it. A customer quickly realizes if a designer is not as knowledgeable or as the previous one they've seen, for instance, or that a customer gets very excited about their house, so they go and do their research, and if you don't know what they're talking about or can refer them away from something or towards something better, it's very important to stay on top of things. So I think for your own sales, like Byron said, commission, to look after yourself, it's very important to always be on top of what's happening and to learn. And it all comes back to socializing with other people in the industry, and to learn from one another, even designers at your office. We've got designers that have got a strength in a certain area, and for one another to learn, from another designer in that area where they're good at. I think it's very important, to keep on learning.
Thanks. Then Byron, I'll give you the next question. Do you have a personal golden rule that you apply in design, that you kind of feel like it's something that you have to absolutely stick to ensure that everything goes well, or that your design is successful both functionally and aesthetically?
Yeah, so the golden rule would be allow creativity to flow. A designer on the appliances. So for your client to understand what appliances they're going to be using, I mean, they don't need to purchase it up front, but as long as they have an idea of, is the oven a 900, integrated fridges, you know, that plays a crucial part to the design process. So the golden rule would be to, you know, just allow the creative juices to flow, understand what kind of appliances and design around that, and listen. I think that would be one of the most important aspects. They say no one ever lost a lead by listening, or no one lost a sale by listening. Yeah.
Perfect, thanks. Then Zoli, the last one for you. With all your experience that you've had and your access to all the different products and accessories out there, if you could incorporate any one specific product or accessory in every single design, what would it be?
Sorry, trust me to not unmute. Yeah, that is difficult. I think it changes over time. I do like my bins, my bloom bins, because I have them in my house, and it's just how easy they make my life, and you know, to take them in and out and clean. But I'm trying to think one thing. Sure. Yeah, I think, I don't know if Byron can help me out on this question, but I find that I find something and I use it for a while, and then you find the next new thing. But something that I can incorporate in every design. Oh, I actually do have something. It would be my internal larder unit. So instead of, I enjoy a larder unit much more than I enjoy a pantry unit, because just to explain what it is, it's drawers inside of a cupboard for your groceries and that sort of stuff. So you can pack everything up right. You can pull it out. You've got 4 or 5 drawers in a long, tall unit, and you can access everything quite easily. So as far as I can, I do incorporate that in every design. Even like I said earlier, if a client does have a pantry, I still throw in a larder unit for them, just for their everyday groceries, even if it's just for the coffee and the tea and the cereal. So I think that would probably be my thing if I think about that now.
Thanks. Steph, you want to carry on?
Yeah, thanks so much. I've just got one last question for both of you. With obviously us being through a year of COVID, we haven't had the international design shows. We haven't had even our own design shows here locally. And there's been a real sort of slowing down to an extent of the amount of influence we're seeing in new trends coming into the market. And slowly as things are picking up now, we're starting to see it coming back. If each of you were to just pick something new that's coming onto the market, trend-wise, design-wise, what excites you the most? So, Byron, do you want to hit that first? And
thank you. Yeah, I would say, surprisingly enough, is basins. We're moving kind of away from double basin sinks, and it's becoming one big undermount. I see the trends moving more towards being water savvy, so water conscious, you know, so your appliances, a dishwasher becoming a standard in every home, and not using so much water in sinks. So lovely undermount sinks, that's definitely a trend that has been around for a while. But one bowl sinks, if you look at companies like Blanco, they introduced a whole new range of cell-grubbed bowls, if I can call it that. Colors, I would imagine going more towards matte. The European trend seems to be heading towards matte colors. Again, maybe not so much high gloss, but yeah, very earthy colors. Surprisingly, if you're working with Ducos, bringing in some greens, you know, kind of going back to our natural roots of color. I don't know if that answers the question as much.
100%. And Zoli, for you, what are you finding exciting in new trends?
Yeah, I agree. With the immediate things, like Byron said, now we do enjoy the more natural materials. I do see that coming in quite a lot with natural. So you know, using stones and using the natural materials. I think something that I'm excited about, we'll see how South Africa adapts to it. It's a trend like luxury minimalism, and I think it actually COVID and the whole world actually contributes to it. Is going back to, you know, they do full-on minimalistic design, and it's not just in kitchens, you know, with interior and with homes, and to just less is more, you know, and just bring things down to less, and having these key amazing items, but just less. So I think that's something for me to look at and to see how we're going to adapt that into kitchens, to how we're going to adapt that trend in our kitchen designs.
Thanks, Zoli. Yeah, I just wanted to say, as we bring this to a close, how important it is to understand that kitchen design is a true profession. It's not, a lot of people think, oh, it's just this funny little sideline of the design aspect, but it's truly not. And that's one of the reasons why we at the KSA have developed our new kitchen designer registration program, so that we can put a facility in place so that kitchen designers can be acknowledged for their professionalism and experience in the industry. Yeah, it is such a niche market and requires such attention to detail and skill, and adds value to the most important rooms in the home. So yeah, seeing people like yourselves who work in the industry and understand that professionalism is fantastic. So yeah, and we hope to see more of it, and we'll be able to support the designers through this new program that we've got. But yeah, huge thank you, Zoli, to yourself and to the team at Meyer for letting us steal you, and Byron, to the team at Totem for letting us steal you today, and for just giving us some insights and sharing your experience with the students. We really, really do appreciate it.
No, it's a big pleasure. Thank you for having us.